Late one night, a woman is working at a convenience store. In the middle of her shift, a man barges into the store with gun gripped firmly in his hand. The woman, fearing for her life, complies to everything the man says. Despite the woman obeying his demands, the man shoots her in the back of the head. For some people, this is just another sad story found online. For others, this is a reality, and many mourn the loss of a family member, close friend, or significant other because of it. And for some unlucky individuals, this is the last moment they will experience in their lives. Gun violence has become one of the most talked about issues today. Solutions offered to reduce gun violence are diverse, with extremes such as absolute gun banning and no firearm regulations. Today, we will discuss several existing solutions to gun violence and find a solution that is practical and effective for the U.S. What is the problem? More than 33,000 people were killed by guns in America in the year 2013. You might think that the majority of those would be because of terror attacks, school shootings, or gang violence. The silent truth is that 2/3 of total gun deaths in America are because of suicides. So what does this mean for us? This graph shows the number of gun deaths, suicides and homicides, from 1999 to 2013. We see that the number of homicides per year stays relatively the same, while suicides by gun are even rising. If nothing changes, we can expect to see tens of thousands of people killed every year by guns. Each number represents someone's child, husband, wife, brother, sister, or friend. Something must change if we are to hope to protect our nation and our loved ones. Many solutions to reducing gun crimes have been proposed and have had varying degrees of success. One solution adopted by various countries such as Great Britain and Australia is absolute gun control, meaning that all firearms are banned, and anyone found carrying one is subject to prosecution. Their logic is simple. If there are no guns, there can be no gun-related deaths. While this is true, the scope of the solution does not address the fact of pre-existing gun-saturated communities, many of the possessors being law-abiding citizens. In 2007, the Council of Foreign Relations estimated 88.8 firearms per 100 people in the U.S., a staggering number compared to the 0.6 firearms per 100 people in Japan. If we are to find an appropriate solution, we must look at the reality of our circumstances. In order to enact absolute gun control in the U.S., government officials would have to search every home and confiscate any firearms that they find. People own guns for various reasons, but regardless of their reason, the majority of citizens would not give up their weapons without a struggle. As we consider the number of guns already in circulation in the U.S., it becomes clear that absolute gun control is an unfeasible solution. Another solution offered is moderate gun control. This view attempts to limit gun ownership to people who pose low risk to society. For example, Obama's recent initiatives requires background checks for every firearm purchase, and he proposes doubling the FBI staff to process these background checks. Their goal is to prevent mentally ill, felons, and other high-risk individuals from purchasing guns, thereby limiting gun ownership only to responsible citizens. While this is a logical response to solving gun violence, it unfortunately has been shown to be counterproductive. Since banning guns has gone up in the UK, the rate of crime, especially violent crime, has risen. In a pamphlet published by the NRA titled 10 Myths About Gun Control, we learn that in a study by the Department of Justice, 82% of criminals agreed that gun laws only affect law-abiding citizens. Criminals will always be able to get guns. In addition, studies showed that tougher state-level gun laws are associated with a modest to no reduction in the rate of firearm-related homicides. A third solution to reducing gun violence is to reduce gun control measures. The logic behind reducing gun control lies in the fact that guns are a great equalizer. When an armed criminal comes up to a citizen, the citizen is at the mercy of the criminal, unless he too is armed with a gun. As National Rifle Association Wayne LaPierre put it, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. In addition, reducing gun control measures helps people feel responsible for their own safety. While this may seem counterintuitive, increasing guns in the general population has proven to be one of the most successful crime deterrents. Research has shown that states with less restrictive carry weapon laws had lower rates of gun-related murder. In a study from the Department of Justice, Professor Wright and Rossi questioned over 1,800 felons across the country and found that 81% agreed that a smart criminal will try to find out if a potential victim is armed, 40% did not commit a specific crime for fear that the victim was armed, and 57% felt that the typical criminal feared being shot by citizens more than he feared being shot by police. I find that there are many similarities to the responsibilities between cars and guns. Misuse of cars and guns can have devastating effects. We are taught in schools across the country how to use, control, and abide by laws for cars. Let me illustrate with an example. Bob is 16. He loves the way cars look and has a basic grasp on how they work. He hasn't had any type of training or education on cars, or the laws that he has to abide by while driving. It just so happens that he has finally saved up enough money to buy a car. He finds a fire truck red convertible Mustang, the car of his dreams, and he buys it on the spot. He drops the top down, throws the car into first, and slams on the gas. Having never driven a car, he only makes it a block and a half before he crashes into a light pole going around a corner too fast. Who didn't expect the outcome of that story? So, how can we expect anything different from gun ownership? There's no training required to buy or use a gun. Many of the accidents that happen could easily be prevented by understanding how to properly use and store guns. For some, this is taught as they grow up with guns around them. Others acquire guns later in life and lack some of the sense that comes with a lifetime of ownership. Gun ownership classes, much like driver's education, could be instituted to create more informed gun owners. While there is no price that can be put to safety, money is often an obstacle that puts various solutions out of reach. The manpower and resources involved in absolute gun control and moderate gun control would be much greater than a gun education course, which would be paid for by individual applicants. By issuing a certificate of completion, like a driver's license, selling guns secondhand becomes much safer. For example, a gun seller could simply say that he only sells to those that have a certificate. This would help guns go to people that understand how to use them with less chance of someone getting a gun illegally. Some of the options to decreasing gun violence that we've discussed are absolute gun control, moderate gun control, and reducing gun control measures. None of these gauge or change what the gun owner knows. As we discussed before, just being able to buy a car doesn't mean that you should be allowed to drive. Increasing or decreasing how difficult it is to buy a car doesn't change the fact that you can't drive. Gun education courses will increase the number of responsible gun owners and help lower gun violence in America. There are so many different ideas on how to handle this issue, with each idea having their own pros and cons. With gun education, we're able to reach benefits from both the right and the left, by allowing people to still obtain guns while not handing them out freely. With this in mind, the best option is to educate the public about firearms to reduce gun violence.